And I'm back, guys. My apologies there. I'm not too sure entirely what actually happened. I think the Streamlabs desktop application seemed to have just crapped out on me, just seemed to have frozen in certain parts and just slowly crashed. But I'm back, so let's continue, I guess. Yeah, those videos I showed there just before the application actually crashed on me, those videos are featured, they were showing the nature of the condition which I suffer with currently, which is epilepsy, and I'm currently illegally using cannabis to manage that condition as the medication which I tried with the consultant. It didn't work, it failed miserably. It actually had far worse side effects than the epilepsy, if you could believe that. Those seizures are nasty, but the side effects of, say, that drug Keppra that I mentioned earlier, that was far nastier. So again, I'm also one of the cannabis patients in Ireland who's been denied access, and I'm not alone either. It's not just myself who's been denied access. There's another patient out there too who are going to be campaigning very hard to get home, and that's Alicia Maher. Alicia Maher was from Cork. I'm just going to pop her post up on screen there now. So there we go. So Alicia Maher is a law student from Cork who had to leave Cork to move to Alicante in Spain to access cannabis. When Alicia was 17 years of age, she had to go into hospital to have her tonsils removed. This led to her contracting MRSA, and a series of unfortunate events led to Alicia now having, I believe, a series of medical complications. I won't even get into to begin to start to describe it, because Alicia was on the podcast in the past with me. She goes in depth about it, and it was a horrible experience. She really got let down, unfortunately, by the medical system. Just through series of accidents, or whether it be incompetency within the medical system, I don't know. But she's left living with chronic pain now as a result. And cannabis has been one of the greatest assets to Alicia for alleviating that chronic pain and allowing her to live a better quality of life. And in order to seek that better quality of life out, she had to leave her home here in Cork and move to Alicante in Spain to get access to that. So like Alicia and myself, we both need access to cannabis. The hoops people have to jump through in order to get the ministerial license, just not good enough. The barriers there under the medical cannabis access program, it's horrible. It's inhumane what they're doing. It's discriminatory as well as many other ways in which I could describe it. But patients like myself and Alicia need access. Alicia needs to be brought home, so we need to bring Alicia home ASAP. And we need to provide all patients who could benefit with access to cannabis, afford them access in a swift manner. So yeah, sorry, I got a bit distracted there, but overall the fucking technical difficulties. But again, yeah, well done to Amy Brown anyway. That's kind of where we started there. Amy Brown finally granted a ministerial license, but no easy feat. She had many difficult tasks, many difficult barriers to jump over to get through in order to achieve that. Again, guys, if you're just jumping back in, my apologies. The app that I'm using here to stream seemed to have crapped out on me, but we're back. Anyway, we survived. So shall we drive on from there? So as I said, we started off some good news. Congratulations, Amy Brown, anyway. Hey, well done there behind me. But anyway, we drive on. Let's go to the next piece in the news, which is featuring the 73-year-old old age pensioner from down in the west of Cork. Yes, another one of Cork's rebels, albeit he's a man from across the pond over in the UK. He came over here a number of years ago, just seeking a better life, so living off the grid down in a remote area in Skibbereen. But this man was caught growing 40 cannabis plants in his home, and it's the headline saying here that he said that he won't stop smoking weed. And this is an article put out there by Alan Sherry over on the Sunday World, where it says old age pensioner, 73 years of age, busted for growing 40 cannabis plants at home, and he says he won't stop smoking weed. It's a ridiculous waste of state money, and for what? It's not going to stop me smoking. Fair play to him. And this man's name is Richard Goldfrapp, and he's from Skibbereen, County Cork. And yeah, fuck you over there in the UK. We're going to claim him like you do tours, and he's one of ours. He's a Cork rebel. Yeah, fair play, Richard, man. Fair play. But the 73-year-old was given a 3-year suspended sentence for he's growing a cannabis plants and says the law needs to change, and he wasn't hurting anyone by cultivating his own supply. Fair play to this man for speaking up. He's a former jazz drummer and fish industry worker, Richard Goldfrapp, who Gardaí described as a nice man. Because yes, nice people take drugs too. Yes, you know that is that was a campaign slogan there by I believe it was Not Normal Release over in the UK. They first coined that nice people take drugs too, and Richard Goldfrapp is certainly one of those nice people, according to these cops anyway. He was busted with 40 cannabis plants, which he was growing for his own personal use at his home in a remote area of Kilcoe, close to Roaring Water Bay in Skibbereen, West Cork, on June 11th last year. Judge Helen Boyle gave him a 3-year suspended sentence at Cork Circuit Court this week, but warned him he is facing a custodial sentence if he is caught again, as this was his second conviction for such an offence. Mr. Goldfrapp told us on The World this week that criminalising cannabis users is a complete waste of state resources, which I fucking have been echoing on here for a long time. And many others out there as well. He says it's a ridiculous waste of state money, and what for? It's not going to stop me smoking, and there you go, man, right from the horse's mouth. What a legend. Fair play to him, like. Because it hasn't. Cannabis prohibition has prevented nobody from smoking cannabis. It's just caused pain and misery for the people that it's touched. But we go on here in the article. It says, my solicitor sent me a letter saying, please don't start growing it again because you could be in big trouble, even though I have big health problems and I'm 73. He said while he has smoked weed most of his life, in recent years he was using it for pain relief. I mainly took it for pain. I have a lot of health problems, and a lot of pharmaceutical drugs don't cope with. I don't cope with them very well, and there's lots of side effects. But with cannabis, the side effect is you get a nice high. There's no difference between a guy who has a couple of pints of Guinness after work. It's a crazy law. Well, to be fair, the guy who has a couple of pints of Guinness after work, you know, he could get a bit drunk and not be in control of himself and attack you. As you know, sometimes that can happen with drunk people. They can get into a bit of a drunken rage, especially if they start going on having a few shots of the old whiskey. At least I was fucking bad for the whiskey anyway. Like, jeez. A growing number of countries around the world have legalized or decriminalized cannabis for personal use, and German legislators recently unveiled plans to decriminalize the possession of up to 30 grams of cannabis and allow the sale of the substance for adult recreational purposes in a controlled market. He says, I think Ireland should catch up. He says, really at the heart of this for me, they're criminalizing young people and they're forced into the hands of dealers because it's illegal, so they go on the black market, and if the dealer doesn't have what they want, they'll often offer them something else. If they legalize it, they can do what they do in America, which is tax it. They can use the tax to build hospitals, roads, infrastructure, and they can monitor the purity of it. He said he doesn't approve of high-strength cannabis, which is specifically grown to have high levels of THC, but sees nothing wrong with lower-strength varieties. If he wants to smoke cannabis now, he'll have to buy it rather than grow his own. And there's an issue in that then. Like, at least when he was growing cannabis, he was able to grow the low THC stuff if that's what he desired. But now that he's back buying it on the black market, he's going to have not much choice really outside of, do you want it or not, lad? But we'll continue with the article. He says, I'll just score it on the black market. I know people who grow it and they don't genetically modify it and do a naturally growing plant, and it's a very nice hit to put it in the common language. Skunk is awful stuff. Even people of my generation say stay away. When he appeared in court this week, Detective Garda Andrew Manning described Mr. Goldfrapp as a nice man to deal with who cooperated fully with the investigation, and the feeling was mutual, coming back there from the defendant. He said, the Garda who busted me, Andrew, was very nice. He said, I didn't give him any bother at all. Funny enough, people of my generation who are smokers are nice people. We don't cause people bother. We don't get pissed out of our brains and start fighting people. I don't have any animosity towards the Garda. They're employed to do a job that they do, and they have to pay their mortgage and raise their kids just like anyone else. Yeah, you know, and I'll just expand on that, but like, they shouldn't have to fucking step on me or Richard Goldfrapp in order to achieve that, you know. Their job shouldn't be going out there policing mine or your fucking drug use, to be fair. Our drug use doesn't interfere in other individuals. You know, when I consume some cannabis to treat my epilepsy, it's not hurting anybody. So why is there any businesses of the government? There should never have been any business of the government to be infringing and putting the Gardaí out there into a more dangerous situation then, because you see the attack there that happened on the Gardaí over the weekend. I don't know what fueled that attack, but you can imagine maybe those guys, they got stopped and searched, and those cops took their fucking nodge off them one too many times. The lads gave up the weed and were out having pints, and they were like, "You ruined my life. I'm now an alcoholic because you made me have to give up weed, and you took my weed off me all the time, and now I'm going to bait the shit out of you." I don't know, I'm really just going off on on a wild one there with that. But there's a possibility that could have been the reason behind the attack, but who knows? But we go on anyway here. It says, originally from the UK, Mr. Goldfrapp, who had ancestors from Carlow, came to Ireland in 97 after he was made redundant from a job in the fishing industry in Cornwall. As I came over in a camper van and went round and round and ended up here. I thought the river was magnificent and it's near the sea. I came over from Cornwall and I like to be near the sea, and I have to agree with him there. The west of Cork is probably some of the most beautiful scenery in all of Ireland. And I definitely have a bias there in that as well. I'll put my hands up and admit my bias. But yeah, the west of Cork, especially on a sunny day, man, it is beautiful down there. But we continue. He says he bought some land in Kilcoe in '99 and has lived there ever since. He said other than his cannabis plants, the only other time he's been in trouble with the law was when he was arrested protesting the Vietnam War in the early 1970s. Legend, go on, kid. The only time I've ever been put up against a wall, he said, adding that he wasn't even convicted over that. I'm just a normal person. I actually have a degree in art, but making a living out of that is hard. I think there's a lot of rebel in us art students. I just think it's the Cork, man. I just think it's just gotten in, Cork rebel, yeah. He said he previously used to play the drums in a band when he was younger. I was into jazz more than rock and roll. I can't read music, so I didn't get very far, but it was fantastic. I used to have the regular gigs on a Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoons in a trio. His sister Alison had more success in the music industry and is the lead singer of the multi-platinum band Goldfrapp, adding a P to the end of their name for effect. So Mr. Goldfrapp said he wasn't sure how he came on the radar of Gardaí. He wasn't selling cannabis, he was growing it naturally rather than using any special lighting or tents or hydroponics that might draw attention. Rats, definitely. Do you know what I mean? Loose lip sync ships, making snitches out there, jealousy, begrudgery. He said he had his suspicions about two people who strayed onto his land one day, saying they were lost while he was planting his cannabis plants. Something about them didn't ring true. One was a lady who kept her head down the whole time. I was actually potting them up on an open table when they happened to come into my yard, saying they were lost. I said, well, you can come through my place and go out that way, which they did, and I think they squealed or whatever. He said, equally, I could have been someone else. It could have been, but you just don't know. He said he had no idea what the plants were worth. It's just ridiculous. I don't know. I had 40 very young plants, and they seemed to put a great deal of importance on how much they were worth. €800 each, apparently. Apparently, a full-grown plant is worth so much money, €800. He said cannabis grown using specialist equipment can be lucrative. And to be fair, if you do it right outside under the sun, it can be quite lucrative as well if you wanted to really be argumentative about it, But anyway, they can charge a lot of money and make a fortune. They can grow a crop that matures after 3 months. It can be tweaked to have as much THC as possible, which does send people crazy. This is why they make a big emphasis on what it's worth if you are selling it. I said, I don't know what it's worth. I don't sell the bloody stuff. Why would I grow it for myself and sell it? Because then I'd have to replenish it in the black market, which he has a point. He said legalization would lead to better controls around the drug. That if they legalize it, they can monitor the quality and the strength. The money it costs to police this could be put into far more useful purposes, such as schools, communities. Yeah, I agree with him there. Cannabis possession is currently illegal in Ireland except for those who have a ministerial license to use cannabis. That includes our friend Amy Brown now. Yay! But also the statement might be null and void soon, you know what I mean? Gino Kenny going to be putting forward a motion there very soon, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But however, since the end of 2020, Gardaí have been allowed to deal with simple cases of cannabis possession through an adult caution rather than through the courts, which has led to a sharp decline in prosecutions. Which it did lead to a decline in prosecutions, but still people are getting their cannabis taken off them. They're getting stopped and searched. They're getting harassed. It's needlessly being done, and it's traumatic to people to have to go through that as well. So it needs to be brought to an end. So there we go. Apologies if I'm flying through that, as I'm going to have to jump off there now shortly, as I've got other arrangements there after 5 bells. So after 5 bells, I'll certainly have to be sauntering on out there. But we drive on anyway. So old age pensioner spared a jail sentence. There was other headlines out there then covering this story, as it was one that was definitely worth covering. No jail for nice man 73 caught growing drugs at his Cork home. That's on the Echo Live. This is on the Irish Mirror. Irish pensioner caught growing cannabis insists I'm no criminal and wants the drug legalised. So this was an interview with another journalist, Michael O'Toole. And then final one down, nice man 73 caught growing cannabis for second time at remote West Cork home. Like, this guy got quite a bit of coverage out there, but to be fair, the coverage that went out there, it was met with by and large with support from people saying this is ridiculous, what a joke. 73 years of age, let the man alone. You know, he's just growing some cannabis for himself outside, it's still no issues. There was lots and lots of comments of support for this guy across all the different social media channels. I should have compiled some of it and had it up there just to back up that statement. I didn't. I'm very underprepared for this broadcast. My apologies. But I will definitely say that there's by and large been a massive shift now in the public opinion on criminalizing people even for growing up to 40 cannabis plants. You know, I didn't see many of the people saying, oh, this fella was just a massive fucking, would you say, criminal, like, you know, part of the organized crime gang network. But no, nobody was saying that. I'd seen zero comments actually like that, to be fair. There's probably one or two out there like it, but I didn't see them. So fucking happy days. I'll certainly be making an effort there to have a chat with Richard Goldfrapp. Alan Sherry, the journalist there with the Sunday World, was actually who interviewed him. That article I just read, he actually mentioned myself to him. Told him what I was doing up here in Cork, and he goes, he told him to send his regards to me. So I've now informed Alan Sherry. I was like, look, I've been looking to get in contact with Richard anyway, so send my number on to him there the next time you're chatting with him. Or just, you know, just casually just send them to him now. So hopefully he does, or he did, and hopefully Richard follows up with a phone call. If you're out there, if you happen to be watching this, Richard, if you've looked me up and you found my channel, do send me an email or a message on any of the social media channels there. I would love to have a conversation with you about the whole affair and about what's next for yourself. As you say, you're not going to be giving up smoking weed, so, you know, the affair being a target, you know, I have a couple of questions I'd love to have a chat with you about, and yeah, do get in touch. I'm sure everybody out there would enjoy the conversation as well. You've gained a lot of supporters, at least Richard has anyway, you know, if you're out there, I'm speaking to you. So we drive on, guys, because we go from Richard's case then and we go to another case here in Ireland, and it's a nasty old case. Look at this one, like Gardaí tweeting that they've seized €2.36 million worth of cannabis and one man arrested following an operation targeting individuals and transnational organised crime group operating in North Dublin. The operation was conducted by the Garda National's Drugs and Organised Crime Bureau and Revenue Customs Service. And there's a picture of the cannabis all bagged up there. And you know, what a sad day for the parish. It's a lot of cannabis. 118 kilos, I believe. You know, it's quite a substantial amount of cannabis, but it's all now going to be destroyed. And a major missed opportunity for the Exchequer, because, you know, you put a 20%, just say 20%, just to keep it easy. You're talking about like €500,000 there in revenue that would have been missed out by from the state. And that's happening on a daily basis, I'd imagine. You know, that this amount of cannabis is arriving into Ireland and being distributed. No tax being collected, no revenue being generated, no legal legitimate jobs, and therefore again no income tax being, you know, applied to the wages of those people. A lot of the people working within the drugs network tend to be people who are probably on the dole and stuff like that. Not all the time, you know. There's definitely people out there who are dealing, doing a bit of dealing, and have a full-time job as well. Not just saying people who deal are on the dole, but there's certainly a lot of them on the dole. Because, you know, you get what, 200 odd euro there on the dole, and then you sell a couple of bags of weed there a week, and, you know, you make an extra, what, 100, 200 euro there for yourself, like 400 or 500 euro a week. Happy days. You know, I know a few people in that situation are quite happy with it too. So 2.36 million euro worth of cannabis seized there recently during the week by the Gardaí, celebrating it like it's a victory, but it's not. This is not a victory at all. It's far from. One Spanish man appeared in court recently then in connection with the seizure. So this Spanish man was 56 years of age, Juan Aguilar, and he's from Malaga. And again, he's definitely not the ringleader in this. He's just no patsy. Been given a job to do. Here's a couple of grand there. Here's $2,000 there for you. Look, jump into the truck there, drive this across to Ireland, drop it off there at the storage unit, and come on home then again. Why wouldn't you do it? You're getting a couple of grand for it. Yuan is probably from an area maybe where there's a bit of an economic downturn, where there's not much opportunities there to make a couple of pounds for yourself, to provide for your family. This guy's providing for his family in a way in which is really it's harming nobody, unless that cannabis is sprayed with noxious chemicals. There's nobody getting harmed by this, and Juan was making a living in an honest enough way. It was illegal, but he's hurting nobody in doing so. So yeah, he was up in court. He's going to be back in court on Friday, I believe, in a special sitting. He's going to be appearing by a video link at the Cloverhill District Court. And it's, again, this is helping nobody. Nobody's winning here. They're not getting the organised crime gangs. Hell, fucking the Kinahans are pivoting now. They're no longer in drugs. They're getting into military tech. I seen an article there that the Kinahan cartel organisation are now pivoting into military tech. So there's a big void there now within the organised crime network for other crime gangs to get involved. And we should hope, that we get our situation here sorted before we get more extreme gangs moving into Ireland from areas, two areas where they have no connection. So therefore, they don't really give a shit like if there's going to be violence on the street there, because they've got no real connection to there. Whereas, the Kinahans and the Hutches and all of those family gangs that we've had in Ireland up to now, those guys have been kind of trying to keep the violence down in their areas because they don't want to increase the activity of the cops within the areas, following on from, whether shooting and stuff like that. Shootings, they're not in the interest of crime gangs. It causes for more police to be on the street. It causes for the cops to be more active and trying to pursue the crime gangs and stuff like that. So they try to keep violence down. Those who have investments within the area. But when you kind of have new gangs coming in, then they don't really give a shit. It's just going to be that they're coming in and they're going to come in hot and heavy. So yeah, the Kinahans are now pivoting to military tech or something along those lines anyway. So yeah, 2.36 million euros. What a heartbreaker. What a heartbreaker. Well, we drive on. We go from there then and we go to the next headline. And we start wrapping up there now because it is 5 bells. The next headline: a cannabis jelly factory responsible for child hospitalizations discovered by Dublin Gardaí. I have to fix that headline because it's a cannabis jelly factory discovered by Gardaí that provided cannabis to kids due to policies. Drug policy, no, that's not fixed it. Yeah, that's not fixed it. Drug prohibition responsible for child hospitalizations. There we go. That's fixed it. Simple. But Gardaí alleged they have found a cannabis jelly making operation in an apartment complex in Finglas. The illicit sweets have been blamed by a senior officer for hospitalizations of a number of children. A successful search for cocaine at an apartment in Dublin led the Gardaí to a second apartment where they discovered a sophisticated manufacturing operation making the jellies. The Gardaí searched the first apartment at 10:20 in the morning in South Finglas and they discovered 20,000 worth of suspected cocaine, and they also found tablets and cash. A woman in her 30s and man in his 20s was arrested and taken to the Finglas Garda station. In a follow-up search in another apartment block at the same complex, Gardaí discovered a suspected cannabis grow house in the downstairs bedroom and an upstairs hot press. The Gardaí also found a sophisticated operation suspected of manufacturing cannabis jellies, which included cooking equipment, jelly casts, food dyes and cannabis oils. A large number of cannabis jellies, which were pre-packed, were seized by the Gardaí. 3 men, 2 aged in their 30s and 1 in his 50s, were arrested at the scene and were detained at Finglas and Blanchardstown Garda station under the drug trafficking legislation, and they can be held for a maximum of 7 days. The Chief Superintendent Finbar Murphy, Blanchardstown Garda station, said that a number of children had become ill from eating cannabis jellies. And again, you know, they've come ill from eating cannabis jellies because they got them under a model of prohibition. If the cannabis jelly market was regulated, you wouldn't have kids becoming ill from them. Or at least not in the fashion that they're currently getting ill from them when they're getting synthetics. But anyway, we go on. It says, I welcome the results of these searches led by the local Gardaí in Finglas area, supported by regional and national units working hard to keep citizens of Finglas and the wider Dublin region safe. They're working hard, but they're not keeping them safe. They're certainly working hard, I'll give them that much, but they're not keeping anybody safe by doing this. They say it's a serious concern that what appears to be cannabis jelly manufacturing operation has been discovered and now dismantled. We have previously seen a number of children hospitalised seriously ill as a result of consuming cannabis jelly products. The production of these products is an insidious, clear attempt by organised crime groups to normalise these illegal activities. What's that? What? I'm just so, my mind is boggled. The production of these products is an insidious, clear attempt by organised crime groups to normalise these illegal activities. Like, sorry, you know, like, but the consumption of cannabis is normal. Like, there's more people consume cannabis today than there has been a long time ago, you know, and it continues to rise. It's the most widely consumed illicit drug out there, and it's normal now for people to consume it. But anyway, these products designed to look like normal edible jellies are dangerous not just to children but to any person consuming them, and that's because not of the cannabis jelly, but because of the prohibition in which they're produced under. There's no regulation there, so you have no assurance as to what you're actually getting. And Garda Síochána will continue to work with all relevant agencies to make every effort to prevent such products from circulating in our communities. The Gardaí also sees suspected cocaine, 100,000 worth of cocaine, and cannabis worth 200,000 during searches of communal areas of this apartment complex, along with a cryptocurrency mining rig. A woman in her 30s arrested has since been charged and bailed to appear before Blanchardstown District Court on December 9th. The man in his 20s has since been released without charge, and a file has been prepared for the DPP. The other 3 men arrested are still being detained. Wow. There we go. I feel like fucking Jim Carrey there out of Ace Ventura. They're trying to read that out. Speed reading. But yeah, absolute joke there. You know, the headline anyway. At least it's cannabis prohibition that's resulted in the hospitalization of kids, if anything. Kids are getting access to cannabis jellies, but what's in them is it's unknown. Most likely the synthetics, or if they're lucky, they're probably getting some THC. But again, the potency could be quite high. You know, you've no assurances to it. You could get a product that says 500 milligrams on the label, which is quite a fucking potent product, but it might have 1,000. It could have fucking 2,000 to be fair, and the next jelly might have none. You know, you just don't know who's making these, like, you know. But anyway, we drive on from there. So that's coming out of Ireland, and then we've a very big bust coming up next. And you all probably know what I'm on about already before I even pop this up. But this was one that came up to my attention there during the week. The cops again over on their Twitter page. Yesterday, the residents in Dublin 1 area was searched by Store Street Gardaí assigned to Operation Citizen duties following reports of antisocial behaviour in the area. €750 worth of cannabis was seized, and a man is due to appear before the courts in connection with this incident. So again, guys, if you're going to have cannabis in your gaff, don't be involved in antisocial behaviour, but it's quite possible that the antisocial behaviour being described here, maybe the boys are outside smoking a joint or something, and the neighbour is like, oh, I don't like the smell of that, and rang the cops. I don't know what what led to the raid here, but it's the cops going raiding the place and, you know, putting this up in line and then like as it's something to be celebrated. €750. Seriously, like look at it. Like, come on, there's about an ounce there at best. But to be fair, €20 a gram. That's what the cops value it at. It's not far off €750. If there's just over an ounce there, then that's by the Gardaí valuation. What it would be. And what actually is 750? 337.5 grams. Yeah. 37.5 grams. Some joke. But yeah, that's Ireland for you. Some young fella being dragged before the courts. A young man, I'd imagine. anything else out? Oh yes, this one by the cops. Then again, again, just throwing this up. There's people in the back. Just throwing this up there as well. Look at this crap. Oh, machine gun, submachine gun. These packets of, I believe these are, I thought these were vape pens, but it said cocaine. I don't know. Are they packing cocaine like this, guys? Anybody out there be able to fill me in? Anybody get a pack of cocaine like this lately? But that's news to me. But it's shocking. This is shocking. Like, look, this is a result of drug prohibition. This is on the streets of Ireland in the hands of criminals right now because of drug prohibition. Like, legalize, regulate, educate drug consumers. That's how you're going to reduce harms, not only to drug consumers, but to the communities in which drugs are consumed. Because as long as we have drug prohibition out there existing in our communities, we're going to have this bullshit on our street. We don't need this shit in the streets of Ireland. What the seriously, like? Oh, like, come on, end drug prohibition, because this is just no, it's not acceptable. We cannot stand idly by and accept this. This is directly as a result of drug prohibition. If there was a drug out there that had a side effect that resulted in drugs on the streets, you'd be sure to be fucking calling for that drug to be banned. But no, this is a result of drug prohibition. This is a side effect. This is an undesirable side effect of drug prohibition. And the only way for us to get rid of it is we need a prohibition of drug prohibition. That's what we need. A prohibition of drug prohibition. Repeal drug prohibition globally. Because it's a joke. It's just resulted in nothing but catastrophes and travesties around the world. But there you go, guys. And then to finish off, we finish off with some good news and a little clip there from our buddy Gino Kenny. So over on the Irish Independent, there's an article featuring which highlights that Gino Kenny is going to be putting forward a bill to legalise cannabis in Ireland. Well, it's not legalised. He's going to be putting forward an amendment, okay? Specifically an amendment to the Misuse of Drugs Act that will allow for up to 7 grams of cannabis to be possessed by an individual. That's it. Simply and succinctly. It's an amendment to the Misuse of Drugs Act to allow a person possess up to 7 grams of cannabis. If you get caught with more than 7 grams of cannabis, then it's down to the discretion of the Gardaí whether what they do with you. So I'm just going to let Gino tell you here himself. He was on the News Talk radio show the other day, but I think it was Karen McCuddy. So I'm just going to play that there now for you.
Kenny from People Before Profit is the person behind it. Gino, good afternoon.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me, Sean.
So describe what it is that's being proposed.
So this is an amendment to the current legislation around cannabis possession. So at the moment, it's illegal to possess cannabis, supply it and cultivate it. Obviously, this hopes to amend the existing legislation to possess up to 7 grams of cannabis. Then that would be legally permissible under Irish law. So that's basically what it's trying to do. And we'll see what I'll introduce it next week into the Dáil. Obviously, there's an ongoing debate about decriminalisation. I think it's a very worthwhile debate to have. And there's a consensus, I think, out in the public that we need to have an alternative discourse around drug reform. Because I personally think, and I think I'm not in the minority here, that present laws around drugs just don't work. Criminalising people for personal drug use it's essentially a waste of resources and so forth. So we need to do something different, and something different is regulation.
Now, does decriminalising mean if this amendment were to become law, if a guard catches you with cannabis, does that mean that there's no penalty whatsoever?
There's no penalty whatsoever. There's no penalty. No, if you have over 7 grams, right, then it's obviously if it's up to the discretion of the police to say, look, we believe this is over 7 grams, and you could be brought to court.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and how did you arrive at 7? You can get pretty out of your gourd on 7 grams.
Yeah, no, 7 grams. The reference point, Sean, would be from Luxembourg and Malta. They've introduced legislation around for the personal use of cannabis, and that's 7 grams.
Right.
So that's the reference I've referenced from, as such.
No, but
and there's about another 15 or 12 minutes of that clip available over on the News Talk podcast site. I think they feature it up and Go Aloud, but there's an article up there if you want to listen to the rest of that. But that amendment there that Gino was talking about is going to be put forward now on Thursday, this Thursday, 2 days' time. 2 days' time. Gino himself is not overly optimistic as to it being entirely supported, but did actually talk there later in that interview to the fact that there is surprisingly support from individuals within all different parties. But because the parties being the parties, the party has to have a position to support it. So he's hoping that the parties won't put the whip in place and allow their members to vote freely. And with that being done, then there is a slight opportunity that it could get passed. But unless that happens, then there's no opportunity. So if the whip is in place, and if the members have to vote in line with the party, which most likely will be the case, then it's most likely going to be defeated. But nonetheless, it's going to have to be debated. There's going to be a 2-hour debate that's going to be happening on Thursday. So I'll be streaming that debate as I believe it will be live on Oireachtas TV. But I'll be watching that live. I'll stream it, and I might even set up a Zoom room if people want to jump on and we can watch it and have an old discussion afterwards. Maybe get a panel of us on there. We'll see. We'll see what happens there by Thursday. But I'm looking forward to that, to see what's being said. The prohibitionists, their mask is going to have to slip now. They're going to have to show themselves sort of cold-hearted people that they really are, and engage in a debate which is only going to be detrimental to them and their position. Because as I believe it was George Rowe or Garrett McGovern, Garrett McGovern, I believe, said that, to be fair, anytime he debates a prohibitionist, he doesn't even have to speak. He says they defeat themselves when they put their arguments forward, which is makes sense. Like it's it's funny. Fair play, Garrett, man, you're a legend. But yeah, Gino Kenny putting forward that bill there on Thursday. So happy days. So we'll finish there, guys, as I'm gonna have to boogie woogie as I am 15 minutes overdue. But that's okay. That's okay, fashionably late. But before we go, civil disobedience, as we always do, we sign off with one of these. To everybody out there who's been commenting throughout the show and liking it as well. I see lots of likes coming in as well today. Much appreciated, guys. Keith, Podge, and Dawn, Noel, and Podge there again a second time. A nice one for the likes, guys, today over on Facebook. Nice one to everybody who's commented as well. See lots of you out there, Mr. Finnegan, Keith Allerance, Keith, oh my man, Keith, you've drop me a message there. I've been trying to find you on Instagram and I was unable to find your account searching Keith O'Halloran, so do message me there so I can find you on Instagram or wherever it was you were telling me to find you, because I need to get an address for you so I can send you out your pipe. Guys, we'll do more giveaways with the pipes actually as well on future streams. I think myself and Alexis will be finishing off our It Takes Two game very soon, so we'll do some giveaways there during that. I will let Alexis pick out a couple of winners from the viewers there at those streams. Shy Son out there as well, what's happening? Shy Son, Mackie, how you know homegrown, what's happening? So it's good to see you're still free. Yeah, until after Christmas anyway, at least. January 30th and 31st, 2 court dates, one after the other, one in Middleton, one in Cork, for civil disobedience protests I held last year. So we see what happens after those. Gillart, what's happening? DB Woodcraft, Teresa, anybody else? Man Falls over there on Twitch, what's happening, Man Falls? All lonely over there on Twitch. It's always good to see at least one person watching on Twitch anyway. It justifies me continuing to pay for the multi-streaming. High Chair says, Han Richard, why you'd be getting a straight name there after you when it's legal here. Certainly will be. Rebel Haze. Right, let's blaze one up, guys. If you're ready for a little bit of civil disobedience out there, if you want to engage it with me, here we go. Torch of Freedom at the ready. Graham Parker says, do you think this amendment will come into effect or some legalization in the next 5 years? Graham, 100% in the next 5 years there will be some form of legalization. This amendment though, I'm unsure. I'm like, there's Am I being optimistic, even giving it a 25% chance? You know, am I kind of there? You know, it's like I would love to say that, like, oh, there's a huge chance for this to get supported. As I said, I kind of laid it out there, as Gino said it himself. Unless the whip is removed, and unless the party allowed their members to vote freely, then the bill doesn't have any chance. Sadly, but who knows? Who knows? Let's see what happens. You know, there's life, there's hope. Shyson says, personally, over 100 grams is over personal amounts to me. I agree with you, Shyson. I think 7 grams is absolute BS. Look, as I said, debates will be coming. We'll see what happens there at that stage. But yeah, I look forward to Thursday anyway. Should be an interesting one. Darn, I won't win anything if Baldface picks the winner. You won't win anything because you already won something, you dingbat. I'll be seeing you very soon, and your beautiful face as well underneath that lovely beard of yours, Mr. Finnegan. As Mr. Finnegan will be shaving his beard there, guys. Don't forget, on the December the 3rd above in Skibbereen. So that'll be all done as well in aid for Amy's going to Romania surgery. So all funds going to help Amy Brown there get to Romania for surgery to help her endometriosis. Right, guys, nice one, everybody, for the comments and the likes, shares, and all of that stuff. It's been an absolute pleasure to get on here for the almost an hour now. Just rolling up on a second 420 there in 3 minutes. Honestly, can't stick around for it, though. We just blazed one, and gotta go do things. It's been a pleasure, guys. I'll catch you back here very soon. So stay blazed, keep it lit. Peace. Bye bye.